Welcome to Screen Talk with yours truly, Nomfanelo. So, a lot of chatter has been happening in regards to the fifth and final season of Stranger Things, which is already out on Netflix. And I'm a Stranger Things fan myself. I really enjoyed the first three seasons. The fourth season for me was like, okay, it could have been better, but I just hated how the episodes were extremely lengthy and parts of it did not make sense. I was hoping the fifth season would have been better, but nope, it just got worse for me. Still similar issues where it was overtly long in length, where they felt like movies instead of TV shows. And yeah, stuff was just all over the place. Now, it has its moments here and there, but I just felt like the fifth season was the weakest season. But I would say I enjoyed, as a Prince fan, that his music was featured during the finale of Stranger Things, which was nice. It was unexpected, but nice. So, yeah, a lot of fans are not happy with this season, and the Duffer brothers are receiving a lot of backlash. So, prior to the season coming out, the Duffer brothers have mentioned in interviews something to the effect that all will be revealed. We're going to tie up loose ends, essentially. So, I want to share an example of that I found on Instagram where they discussed this during an interview with Collider.
At any point in the writing of season 5 and the making of season 5, were you like, God, I wish we had done this one thing in the first 4 seasons to help us set up this?
No, it's been perfect and all perfectly placed. No, I mean, yeah, of course you do. And I mean, but you know, you start to look. I mean, a lot of it, that was sort of the fun and the challenge of it was going, what are these loose ends that we need to tie up? What is worth sort of revisiting, and how do we make sure that this, when people watch it from beginning to end, and you know, once the whole show's out there, people are going to be able to watch it all in a run in a relatively short period of time. We just want to make sure that it all feels coherent. So that was something we spent a lot of time, I think, working on this year.
So that's just an example of what they said in interviews prior to the season coming out. Now, fast forward to when the episodes were releasing, many people have shared their frustrations with the season, were essentially said that it was terrible. There were some cop outs that kept happening, and stuff just did not make sense. That's just an example of what I've seen in terms of people sharing their thoughts on the fifth season. So I'll share one of those examples where this person shared their thoughts. This was after when Volume 2 came out.
So after watching the second half of Stranger Things Season 5, what have we learned? We learned that you cannot trust a single word that comes out of the Duffer brothers' mouths because there is absolutely zero tension or suspense in the entire show. Do you know what the Duffers told us in an interview recently for what to expect out of the second half of Stranger Things Season 5? They told us it was going to be a dark Christmas. After watching the second half, do any of us feel like it was that dark? No, because there's no stakes. They're afraid to touch a single hair on any of the main cast members' heads. Any life or death situation any of them are in makes me feel nothing, because I know none of them are going to die, because they do the same shit over and over and over again. Every new season, they introduce another character just to get us to like them, and then they'll kill them off instead of touching the main cast. Be honest. When Hopper died at the end of season 3, did anyone actually think that he died? Fuck no. Do you necessarily need to kill main characters off in order to make a good show? No. But they can't keep giving us fake out deaths and introducing new characters. Because what's happening is, especially this season, they can't balance all of these characters properly. So far, season 5 feels like a lot is going on, yet nothing is going on at the same time. It feels like Holly has had more screen time than Eleven has, the literal backbone of the show. And I'm sorry to say, I don't care about Holly that much. I just don't feel like there's any stakes at all. I'm really hoping that the finale next week can build some sort of tension and actually stick the landing. But as of right now, man, season 5 is shaping out to be the weakest season of them all. So
Yeah, that's also one of my main issues too, especially with this season, a lack of stakes essentially. Because I did see in interviews, I think I'll share a clip later, where I think one of the Duffer brothers said that they didn't want to like kill off characters. They said something on the lines of, you know, because life is about overcoming obstacles, and that's what the show is about, something along those lines, which I'm kind of like, really, this is like, what are we doing here? That doesn't make sense. But yeah, also too with the fake cop outs, those were annoying, because I remember with season 4, when Steve was getting attacked by bats, we thought, oh, he was going to get killed off, but then nope, he ended up being fine. And same thing happened with the finale, where we thought, oh, Steve was going to die when he almost gets tossed down, but nope. It cuts to black, which when I see that happening, I find that stuff to be annoying. So yeah, it cuts to black, and then it comes back up where Jonathan saves him. I'm like, oh boy, it's like, oh no 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 no. So yeah, many people are just not happy with this season, and also too with the way Duffer Brothers have been promoting it before and after the season. So here, Forbes, they title it the official Stranger Things finale plot hole explanations are awful. Uh, so the author here, Paul Tassi, mentions that he defended the finale. Mentioned that there were some odd moments that weren't fully explained. Some of it seemed like there were some pretty logical explanations that fans were missing or choosing to ignore. Then the Duffer brothers started talking. In expansive interviews from places like The Wrap and Collider, the Duffers have been answering the plot hole questions people have been asking, and without fail, their answers are almost universally awful. So much so that I even had to wash my hands off some of this, even though I thought the finale worked overall. Let's go through some of those. One of the most common complaints was that all the demo monsters were missing in the abyss during the final fight with the Mind Flayer, when it seemed like they should have had to get through an army of them. Given the events of season 3, where the Mind Flayer formed a physical body with dead rat and human biomass, it seemed likely that it had formed its giant living body by absorbing those creatures. A perfectly valid explanation that maybe could have been communicated better, but it made sense. The Duffer brothers say, nope, here is a bad explanation instead, where they said, quote, mainly it's just that Vecna was not expecting the sneak attack on his home turf. And I'm like, really? Like, come on, like, because he kidnapped, the 12 kids. You figured that someone or people would come after him, but he did not expect this at all. It's like, no, no. And then goes on to say, never in a million years could he even imagine that. There, there somewhere. We've obviously discussed having a demo battle on top of the Mind Flayer battle, but it felt more right to us that why does he need the demos when the Mind Flayer is this giant thing and can attack them? He doesn't need this little ant army to attack. He's going to take care of this himself. It's a giant, desolate planet. If you recall, you see Henry wandering the planet back in season 4. And at some point in this journey, he does see a demo far in the distance, but it's not like they're hanging out in little huts. They're not like a giant, oh, sorry, there's not like a giant civilization of demos up there. Ay, ay, ay. So he says, this doesn't work on two levels. The first being that it ignores what would have been a perfectly reasonable explanation given the lore that I just laid out. But the second is that it doesn't track that the Mind Flayer wasn't expecting the sneak attack, because Vecna went mind hunting and discovered the entire plan before it happened. So why would the Mind Flayer not expect this? Exactly. And then there's question. Hate these ads. Then there's the question of what happened with the military in the 18-month gap after the Upside Down was destroyed and 11 died/disappeared. Surely they thought that through, well, quote, In that 18-month gap, I suppose there's not much else to do. You can't explore this other dimension. There's no Levin to chase anymore because she's gone. So my guess is that they just sort of slowly dismantled operations and left town. Ay, ay, ay. The question mainly revolves around the group killing a lot of soldiers and they're just let go. Hopper goes back to being police chief and gets big new job offers. At least pretend you had some sort of explanation that they made a deal as part of a cover up or something. And wouldn't Joyce and Hopper be rather stunned to learn of Vecna was their former high school classmate? Because yeah, during fifth season they made a big deal about that when Max and Holly were seeing Vecna's memories. So they say, quote, I'm sure that yes, in the gap between seasons 4 and 5 that was discussed. I mean, we talked about putting this in the season, but not enough people will have seen the play. So it would have been extraordinarily confusing for people. Oh no. And yeah, it says one common thing here is that there's a lot of I guess and I suppose in all these answers. Like a lot of this simply wasn't thought through. I am okay with some things not being shown on screen. I don't think we really need Dustin and Susie closure in the context of the finale, but you at least have to have thought about these things and have coherent explanations when you're inevitably asked about them. If not, it looks like you care less about your own mythology and world building than your own fans. I would not keep answering these questions at this point, and this has been pretty disappointing. I mean, well said right there. Ay, ay, ay. But yeah, it's just disappointing with this finale. Like, it could have been better. Because honestly, now just like reflecting, this show could have been, I would say, at least 3 seasons, maybe 4 to push it, but I would say at least 3 seasons. I think 5 seasons, just based on how it went, no, no to 5 seasons. The Duffer brothers have been doing a bunch of interviews post the finale, and it has not worked out for them. I would say in terms of how people are responding to them. So they appeared on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, um, and they gave like a full spoiler review, not review, spoiler discussion on the show. And there's a section here I'll share first where where they're asked about deaths in particular.
Because why wouldn't you? It's like as much as possible, you want to explore every possible avenue in terms of where the season and the show could go, and you try to land on what feels right. I mean, like the percentage of time spent on talking about death and death of characters is really small, because that's not what the show has ever been about. It's an adventure coming of age story. We could have definitely killed some people. So it's just not what we wanted to do. And it's not, to me, what the show is or what the show is about.
Okay, so it's fine, like if they want to do the whole coming of age adventure type show. But I mean, at the same time, too, like when you introduce like all these details, because also too before in the past they say like they're all about the details, and they've mentioned that I think what the finale was like what 10 years or so in the making. Also, you're creating these high expectations, but then when the finale comes, there's not much stakes to it. Like that's disappointing. Now, as like I shared in one of the reels earlier, you don't necessarily have to do a lot of deaths to make it, I don't know, exciting and all that stuff. But at the same time too, there needs to be stakes and risk and all that stuff, because it seems like, I don't know, that they were just too afraid to go there, maybe because they find the characters to be too precious and they didn't want to go all the way to kill them off, is my guess. Or who knows, maybe they wanted to have like a Disney type ending. I don't know, but yeah, it was just disappointing with the direction that it went, essentially. And then I'll share another clip here in the same interview where they've talked about where they've complained about doing so many interviews, and I'll just let them do the talking for example. Once I find the right marking here.
Because Josh, man, there was so much. My head is in a I really shouldn't have done any of these post-mortem interviews because I'm not in a good place. Like, why the hell we did any of them yesterday is beyond me.
That's the best time to talk to you, when you're totally fried.
I'm like fried. I was like, yeah, I'm getting over the flu. So anyone mad at any answers we gave yesterday, just give me a break. Cut me some slack.
No, never. That's not how the internet works. You know that.
No.
So essentially, he wants you, the people, to cut them some slack. So I'm sure no one forced them to do these post interviews. They could have said no if they didn't want to, but they did, and now we're here. So yeah, and no one's gonna cut them some slack. Like, no, that's not happening. Especially if how the reception went. That ain't happening anytime soon. Also, too, a documentary, Stranger Things documentary, recently came out on Netflix. It's called One Last Adventure: The Making of Stranger Things 5. Essentially, it went behind the scenes, essentially, with the season. So I watched it. I find overall it's not bad because as a creative person myself, it's always nice to see the behind the scenes process in terms of what it took to get to the final product, essentially. So I always appreciate that stuff myself as a creative person. But but with this documentary in particular, it just made it worse for the Duffer brothers. So here's like a person sharing what their breakdown of the documentary essentially.
What do you mean the biggest TV show in the world did not have a script during production for the finale, so they had to go to Reddit and ChatGPT? I thought everything was a tiny little Easter egg, leading us to this big final answer. Remember, they also told fans that 4 major characters were going to die in the last episode, and then that literally didn't happen? They had told their fans that from the first episode of this TV show, they had a plan on how this was going to go, how the entire show was going to end, and they were just lying out of their asses. They're even lying to the crew. Look at this one clip.
It's not like we don't. It's like it's all plotted. Right, and we're just like
Today's a very interesting day. We are shooting episode 8, which isn't completely written yet.
And then the rest of the documentary, they're just stressing about how they're going to end the show.
So I just want to pause right there. So a few months ago, I did video where I talked about Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, how one of the things that infuriated me about that is that they filmed the movie without a script. And hearing this, it gave me parallels to that. Because I find that stuff to be irritating and unnecessary, especially with stuff that has a lot of moving parts. Like with this show having a lot of moving parts, I'm like, no. No. All right, let's continue.
Oh, logically.
The whole episode has to be building towards 11 to kill herself.
Like, if we're trying to sell it as she's gonna kill herself, and then she kills herself.
Yeah. I don't know if we have to play it like that.
That is how we
I don't know if we have to play it
How
like
would
that.
we play it?
We keep it ambiguous.
I've never read a script, and we're just shooting it.
There have to be some monsters in the abyss.
I agree.
There has to be Demogorgon, bat, dog, like something. It's crazy if there's nothing there, I think.
I'm also also so shocked that this version of it was aired because of all the backlash from the season. And if you're gonna tell me, oh, it was already scheduled, they hadn't even announced it yet when people were hating on this season. They could have waited, edited things to make it sound a little better at least, and then announced and aired it. And I already made a video about this, but everything with Conformity Gate, they're down to do it if they run out of money. Hundreds of millions of dollars were invested into this season. I know they care to some level. Just watching this documentary, it really came off as like ungrateful, and it was really disappointing to see as a longtime fan. One of the things they said was the longer it goes, the more stories you have to tie up, the more character arcs you have to tie up, the more expectations the audience has on you. Yeah, you developed the show to make us feel this way, and then you're blaming us for waiting on something that we are expecting you to deliver because you said you would deliver it? Like, you can't tell half a story, even though they kind of did and pulled it off. It really shows that you can fake it for a long time, but the truth will always come out. I also love that they said nobody was going to guess the finale and nobody had guessed it, because we were fans and we really looked into how this show could logically end as a fan, as someone who loves the show, and they just ended it with Reddit and ChatGPT in the simplest, messiest way possible. Follow for more. What do you mean the
Yeah, so so I've been looking at various videos where people talking about this documentary, and yeah, it just does not look good for the Duffer brothers at the end. Because like they admitted, oh, like there was no script as they were about to start shooting, which is not a good look. And the whole chat GPT thing, I'm like, that was just wild. So I'll talk about it more as I shared an article where the person that made the documentary did interview with the Hollywood Reporter. But man, that's just insane though. So do want to share I found, so one of the recent posts that I believe was Ross Duffer, um, where he shared the trailer for the documentary. I'll just pause it there. So a lot of people are sharing their comments in his post here. For example, Ross and I had no interest in writing at all. Yeah, we could tell after watching Volume 2 and the finale. You had 3 years to make the most epic finale. Why did you leave it last minute? How was it not even ready when you started the series? I like the theories on TikTok a million times more than the ending written by you. Ross, did your wife take all your talent when she divorced you? Now, I keep seeing posts people share that I believe with Ross's ex wife, I can't remember her name, the top of my head. She worked on those the first three Fear Street movies on Netflix, and many believe that that she, I guess, was in a way the driving force of the show, but wasn't really credited for it, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I don't know, but I mean that could be a factor, or it could just be they were just too tired, because we have seen shows where they start off very well season one, and then once they get to the tail end, it just declines. So I mean it could be that, who knows, there could be multitude of reasons, but yeah, it was just disappointing with this show. And yeah, people are sharing their frustrations like in the comment section, as you could see here. So let's talk about the whole chat GPT of it all. So I saw a person here shared his thoughts on the situation.
I don't know if the Duffer Brothers are just masochists or something, but this new documentary just made the discussion around Stranger Things 5 so much worse for them. First of all, they outright confirmed that they went into production on season 5 without the finale written, because of course that always goes great. I can't think of a single franchise that was negatively impacted.
It's funny that he includes Star Wars, particularly with the last one, Rise of Skywalker. I mean, we all know how that went.
by its finale not being planned out. There's also this quick clip of them scrolling through the script, and at first glance that seems relatively normal, but if you take a closer look at their tabs, you might notice something a little concerning.
Now, like when you try to look closely, it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest, because I see there's like multiple tabs happening there, but many people point out that looks like to be the icon for Chat GPT. Now, I'll be honest, I've never used Chat GPT myself. I have heard of it, but I've never used it. Honestly, I hear like there's a multitude of different ways or applications that Chat GPT is used. I would not know because I have not used it myself, but yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. And I don't know, like, with this is definite proof that they use Chat GPT, but either way, it's just not a good look to be spotted at whether it was used intentionally or not for the show.
Yep, it's the OpenAI logo. Now, this doesn't outright confirm that the Duffer brothers used AI to write the script of Stranger Things 5, but it certainly doesn't look good for them, especially with the knowledge that there wasn't a plan going into the final episode. There's also another frustrating moment in this documentary where a writer goes to the Duffer brothers and says, hey, shouldn't we have some Demogorgons or some Demobats and other monsters in the abyss with Vecna? And the Duffer brothers essentially say, nah, the audience is probably tired of the Demogorgons. They're probably tired of seeing all those monsters. Let's just have it be the Mind Flayer. You mean to tell me that one of your writers caught a plot hole and you actively chose to not fill it in? Make it make sense. I want to make it clear that I am not a Stranger Things 5 hater. For the most part, I really enjoyed it. But I don't know, some of the stuff in this documentary puts a bad taste in my mouth. Anyway, I want to hear your thoughts on this new documentary. Do you think the Duffer brothers used AI? Let me know.
Yeah. So, let me just say this. So, with my experience as a scriptwriter for many years, and also too as a writer where I've done peer reviews, you don't need AI to make a bad script. I think some scripts are just bad without help from technology. So that could be also a possibility as well too. But yeah, with this whole ChatGPT thing, it's not good. But I won't be surprised if, let's say, if they didn't use it for the work, but they just ended up making bad scripts. So there is that as well too. Okay, I'm going to. All right, I'm going to share now the article on the Hollywood Reporter that the person that made the documentary gave recently. So essentially, does it say the person's name here? I'm trying to scroll. Martina Rodwan, I believe is female. Yeah, so she gave interview with Hollywood Reporter recently. I'm not going to go through every single one because I just want to focus on the Chat GPT angle of it all. So, it says here, they ask, you've got super fans pausing and zooming in on individual frames of your documentary. One allegedly shows one of the Duffers with a Chat GPT tab open on their computer. Did they use Chat GPT in your presence? And if so, for what? And then she says, I mean, are we even sure they had ChatGPT open? Oh boy. Personally not, but the internet seems sure. And then she answers, well, there's a lot of chatter where social media users are like, we don't really know, but we're assuming. But to me, it's like, doesn't everybody have it open just to do quick research? And then the interviewer says, I do. Then she says, how can you possibly write a storyline with 19 characters and use ChatGPT? I don't even understand. Oh no. Like, just because there's so many characters. Oh my goodness. Like, you can use ChatGPT or anything equivalent for anything, doesn't matter the character count. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know what kind of answer, like, honestly, like, she could have just said no, or she could have said like, as far as I'm aware of, did not see them use ChatGPT, something to that effect. But I'm like, what kind of answers is saying, oh, do we know for sure that they use it? It's trying to imply that some people are just making this stuff up. Yeah, yeah. And then continues on to say, I don't think many fans truly believe the Duffers had Gen I write their scripts. I think it's more an aversion to use the technology in general in Hollywood than the person says. Again, first of all, nobody has actually proved that it was open. That's like having your iPhone next to your computer while you're writing a story. We just use these tools while multitasking. Well, I'm a writer myself. I do not use AI tools at all. Now, I know I get that, as technology is advancing, um, applications that are already out there are integrating AI, which is becoming a slippery slope, in my opinion. But I for me personally, I don't use ChatGPT for my writing. I mean, I've been writing for a long time without this stuff, so I feel like I'm good on that department. But yeah, no. And I have seen some writers defend this, saying that, yeah, like, oh, they use Chat GPT for their writing, which makes me question, like, how much of their writing is them versus a computer. But I mean, that could be a topic for another day. But okay, let's just continue. So there's a lot going on all the time, every time. What I find heartbreaking is everybody loves a show and suddenly we need to pick it apart. Oh no. Seems like, yeah, like she's trying to put the blame on people, just trying to, spin things, essentially trying to say that, oh, people trying to come up with fake narratives and all that stuff. It's like, but again, though, like with the Duffer Brothers, creating these high expectations, of course, people are going to pick that stuff apart, especially when they emphasize, like, oh, it's all about the details, it's all about tying up loose ends. It's like, okay. And then they ask, so just to button up the topic, you didn't witness an unethical use of generative AI in the writer's room? No, of course not, she says. I witnessed creative exchanges. I witnessed conversation. People think writer's room means people are sitting there writing. No, it's a creative exchange. It's a story development. I think every writer's room is different. It's going to operate differently. But relatively, it's like same thing where it's just, a bunch of writers and you have the head writer, showrunner, and so forth, discussing ideas for the show and so forth. But of course, like people are gonna have their different ways of running it, but relatively, same purpose. And of course, you go places in your creative mind and then you come back to the script. I think being in the writer's room is such a privilege and such a gift to be able to witness that. Honestly, though, should have just left it at that when asked, like, did you see them use ChatGPT? Just stick it to that. Did not need to add the extra stuff in terms of, oh, people just coming up with fake stuff. Do we know that this happened for sure? It's like, no, 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 no. And then, of course, they add disclaimer here saying Netflix and Duffers did not respond to Hollywood Report's request for comment on the ChatGPT question. And before recording, I did not see them give any responses at all. I don't even know they're going to plan to do so anyways, because I bet they're hoping for this story to die down. Based on what I'm seeing so far, I don't think it's going to die down anytime soon, especially since of AI being a hot button topic for obvious reasons. So it's not going to die down anytime soon. So I want to share with you this reel I found by Real Takes that talks about, he shares his thoughts on the documentary and season 5 of Stranger Things.
Some interesting comments from the director of the Stranger Things documentary, Martina Rodwan, that provides some half clarity on the ChatGPT accusations that came about around the Duffer brothers as a result of the documentary. I didn't watch the documentary, didn't watch season 5. I did watch the first 4 seasons. I avoided talking about this story when it first broke because I found a lot of the reactions to be very clickbaity, with a lot of people just unequivocally saying they used ChatGPT to write the entire final season, and a lot of people on the other side just mindlessly defending Stranger Things, or kind of just automatically saying no, they were not using ChatGPT unequivocally. Look at the screenshots. If you're not being disingenuous, defensive, and emotional about it, that's Reddit, and that appears to be ChatGPT. Just like both of these tabs right here. We have this exact question asked of the director in this piece with The Hollywood Reporter. The response to me was very cool. I mean, are we even sure they had ChatGPT open? Then moving on, there's a lot of chatter on social media like we don't really know, but we're assuming. But to me, it's like, doesn't everybody have it open just to do quick research? Which the interviewer said, I do, to which the director responded, how can you possibly write a storyline with 19 characters and use ChatGPT? I don't even understand. Yeah, we don't understand either. Commentary, there seems to be a strange defensiveness as well as a sort of admission. They went on to say, again, first of all, nobody's actually proved it was open. That's like having your iPhone next to your computer while writing a story. We're just using these tools while multitasking. So it feels like they're saying there, you can't prove it, but also who cares going on. So there's a lot going on all the time, every time. What I find heartbreaking is everybody loves the show and suddenly we need to pick it apart. Here it goes on to ask, so you didn't witness an unethical use of generative AI in the writing room? No, of course not. I witnessed creative exchanges. I witnessed conversation. People think writer's room means people are sitting there writing. It's creative exchange. It's story development. And of course, you go places in your creative mind and then you come back. If Martina is referring to ChatGPT, that's not going to a place in your creative mind. That is actually the exact opposite. Clarity added here that Netflix and the Duffers did not respond to the Hollywood Reporter's request for a comment on this issue. Something very specific I wanted to focus on in this entire exchange. It's this quote right here. What I find heartbreaking is everybody loves the show and suddenly they want to pick it apart. What they're saying there is, here comes the airplane, open your mouth and accept whatever slop Netflix decides to feed you because we know you have an emotional attachment to the show. That's what they're saying. Hey, wasn't season 1 great? Nostalgia baiting over and over again. Didn't you love that? Why are you now using your brain and thinking critically? This to me is what it means to be a stan and to be unable to engage critically with what you're watching. This ties into another thing that came out from the Duffers in this documentary, which is the fact that they did not have the ending written when they went into the final season. We're flustered about being hounded about this, despite the fact that they had years to write it. All of this stuff to me shows a fundamental lack of respect for the audience. I feel vindicated in bailing on this show after season 4. I thought the writing there was terrible. I think season 1 is really solid. I think everything else is just not that good. Overwhelming attitude around stuff like Stranger Things is, oh, just shut your mouth, turn your brain off, and don't. Some interesting comments from the
Yeah. So, So yeah, this whole thing, Duffer Brothers, yeah, it does not look good for them at the end. So I don't know if they plan to address any of this stuff at some point. Maybe. I think a part of me thinks that it's probably not going to happen. But I am curious if that will happen. But yeah, all of this stuff is not good for them. And I would say, yeah, like with the AI of it all, like I said, regardless if they use it or not, like bad writing can happen either with or without AI. So I'll just leave it at that. So that pretty much concludes this video on in regards to the whole backlash the Duffer brothers are facing with Stranger Things season 5. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about all of this stuff. I know it's a lot to unpack there, but let me know in the comments section. So if you want to support me, you could visit buymeacoffee.com/numphymalloy, where you could donate and look at exclusive posts there. Also, too, I do have community tab on YouTube, so if you subscribe to the channel, feel free to leave comments there as long as it's under community guidelines. And if you want to follow me on social media, my links are in the description. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.